Are you ready for the... Wait, what? That's not right.
Ah, here we go again.
Hello, Tidmouth Milk 12 here, and welcome to Train Sim World 5. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the newly released Thomas & Friends DLC. For the first time ever, a train simulator game has an officially licensed Thomas DLC. Before we take a look at what's in the mod, let's talk about where to get it. I personally bought it on the Steam store, though it is also available on the Epic Games Store and also the PlayStation and Xbox marketplaces. It's retailing for £19.99 or $24.99 in both USD and Euros. However, that doesn't include the base game and the West Somerset Railway route. If you don't own either of those, there's a helpful bundle with everything you need for £29.99 GBP, €34.99 Euros, or $39.99 USD. So what do you get for your £20? Included in the DLC is Thomas, Diesel, Annie and Clarabelle, and a handful of freight wagons, including ones with troublesome truck faces. Style-wise, everything in the DLC is based on the CGI era, specifically the Series 23 style with the extra rivet detailing, though the Thomas model in this does differ slightly from the one used in the show, so points for not just copying it verbatim, I suppose. That being said, the L&R vans do seem to have textures lifted from one of the CGI era models, so perhaps those have been ported in. I don't know. Both Thomas and Diesel have a few alternate facial expressions, though these only change during events in the story missions, or Thomas squinting his eyes when he whistles.
I think Thomas's eyes close when he whistles.
Oh, that's...
It's like one of my animations.
I haven't figured out if there's any way to alter these faces during custom scenarios, but I'm sure somebody smart in the community will figure that out at some point. I do like that the eyes move around though. It adds a lot of life to an otherwise static expression. Going back to the detailing, Thomas's cab interior is just like it is in the show. In fact, I'm pretty sure they've used the model era prop for reference, as the reverser handle, which is absent in the CGI era, is included. However, none of the levers in the cab are actually operable, and the whole thing is just a static model, which is a real shame in my opinion. This could have been a really good opportunity to teach children how a steam locomotive works and what all the different levers and controls are actually used for, but I digress. I don't think Diesel actually had a specific cab interior in the show, so his cab interior is just copied from the Class 09 with a bit of texture tweaking. Speaking of controls, both Thomas and Diesel have an extremely simplified control scheme, both just having a forward and backwards control and the whistle/horn. So they don't have reverser controls, it's just forwards and backwards. mean, that's fair enough. You know, it's just for kids.
Yeah.
Again, I think this is a bit of a missed opportunity, but it's fine for what it is. The speed limit penalties have also been disabled for both characters, allowing you to travel well over the speed limit, though slowing down for sharp corners and shunting is still recommended. Oh no, I can't stop!
And there was trouble.
Also, driving Thomas or Diesel gives you a unique UI for the speedometer. It's nicely designed and it's clear and understandable for kids to use, though I don't like that it's constantly on the screen when you hide the rest of the UI and can even appear over cutscenes. It's also slightly out of sync with the speed indicator at the top of the screen, though given that speed limits are mostly irrelevant anyway, that's just a bit of a nitpick. On the subject of speed, like my old mod review, I set up a scenario to test both characters' top speeds. I managed to get Thomas to just tip over into 114 kilometers an hour, or about 70 miles per hour. He may have been able to go faster, though by that point the speed was increasing so slowly it didn't feel worth me finding out. Diesel's top speed is a much humbler 50 kilometers per hour, or 31 miles an hour, though that's kind of understandable. He's a diesel shunter, they don't need to go fast, that's their design. Let's talk sounds. The sound effects used are really nice and are taken from the same samples used in the show, including Thomas's chuffs,
Thomas chuffed slowly toward the bridge.
And he heard a whistle. It's Thomas, called his driver.
his whistle, Diesel's horn, an engine revving, coupling,
Cried the trucks. We want Thomas or Duck.
uncoupling,
They surged into Sir Handel and pushed him off the rails.
and even the braking sound.
And he applied his brakes just in time.
The voiceover dialogue is also provided by series narrator Mark Morrigan.
It was a warm summer's evening on the West Somerset Railway, and Thomas the Tank Engine was waiting at Dunster Station.
Whilst, in my humble opinion, I don't think he quite has the vocal range of narrators like George Carlin, Michael Brandon, or even the late Michael Angelis, I do appreciate he does attempt to give the different characters individual voices, even trying to emulate some character voices from the show.
You said you had a friend that worked on this railway, didn't you, sir? Yes, Thomas, I have, replied Sir Topham Hatt. Mr. Peters and I have been friends for a long time.
Though the fact that he's the only voice does get a little bit tiring after a while.
Hello, Thomas. Thanks so much for finding these gifts.
Why is every station master Welsh? Moving on to the story. As mentioned, the story takes place on the West Somerset Heritage Railway and involves Thomas visiting the railway with the Fat Control...
Sir Topham Hatt.
Right, sorry, Sir Topham Hatt. It looks like Al Murray.
It does.
However, it also transpires that Diesel has come to the railway and is determined to cause some mischief in order to make Thomas look bad. For some reason. Yeah, 6 out of 10. This involves him doing things like hiding Annie and Clarabelle.
I just realised they're going to ask you to do this all over again, but with Thomas.
Oh, God. Disorganising the fireworks train. What the hell? What the...
What are we doing?
I don't... It's so just convoluted. Like, why are we doing this? What is the plan here? And dumping presents along the side of the line.
Look, there's another gift up ahead. I wonder how they ended up by the side of the track.
That around the corner.
Behind the tree, no doubt.
Like, if it was up in the tree, I'd give him that, but like, it's around the corner behind all the trees.
Yeah.
Although we don't actually see him doing that last one, so I'm not sure if Thomas just blamed Diesel for some careless other engine. Speaking of other engines, neither the Class 47 or the Class 09 from the base DLC appear in the mission stories, and even the freight wagons have all been replaced with ones from Sodor. I can kind of understand it, as there'd be no way to explain why those engines don't have faces, though it would have been nice to perhaps have one of them going by with another train or working in the background at one of the stations. I'm also not sure if the free roam option is broken for me, as it just loads into the West Somerset Railway's diesel gala timetable with no option to start on a particular service and no obvious sign that anything Thomas related is on the line at all. There is a Thomas timetable on the to the trains menu, though again this just seems to be Thomas and Diesel with no West Somerset Railway logos at all. Of course, using the scenario editor you can just put Thomas and Diesel wherever you want with whatever of the locos you want, and I'm sure within the next few weeks there'll be a plethora of custom scenarios on Dovetail Live for you all to play around with. So, final opinions. The model work is excellent, though the lack of animated cab controls, exterior details and a few interesting quirks really lets it down at times. Wow, they're all getting in the same... That's not how that works, game. Though, that aside, the sound work is spot on and really makes you feel like you're playing within the show's world. Oh! At times, the story can be a bit of a drag, but at the end of the day, it's a bit of fun for the kids, and it's a really great gateway into the train simulation genre, and I really hope this isn't the last collaboration we see between Mattel and Dovetail. This is a really tantalising look at what can be done with the Thomas brand, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds. With all that being said, if you've enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit the like button and let me know in the comments what you think about this DLC. And if you want to see more from me, hit subscribe. I do plenty of other stuff besides Thomas, so please be sure to check out that stuff if you're interested. Alright, plugging over. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Tim12, and I'll see you next time. Bye!